I do want to cover this story here about Merrick Garland. This is huge. I want to remind you, on Friday, I told you about this story here in reference to Hunter Biden probe. This came from the Wall Street Journal. The Hunter Biden probe is being mishandled. IRS supervisor says. We're not going to read through this whole article again, but I do want to go ahead and just read this first part just to remind you, because this is all connected. An IRS supervisor has told lawmakers he has information that suggests the Biden administration is improperly handling the criminal investigation into President Biden's son, Hunter Biden, and is seeking whistleblower protections, according to people familiar with the matter. This is the piece you want to focus on right here. A letter sent to Congress on Wednesday says a career IRS criminal supervisory special agent has information that would contradict sworn testimony by a senior political appointee. Now, today, we know who that senior political appointee was. It goes on to say the supervisor also has information about a failure to mitigate clear conflicts of interest in the ultimate disposition of the case. Again, I want you to focus on senior political appointee. Contradicting sworn testimony by a senior political appointee. This testimony piece is very crucial, right? That meant that you testified, which meant that he lied. That's called perjury. So I want to take you to this video here because I first found out about this on Twitter and then I started doing some digging. It says speculation is rife. Merrick Garland could be covering for Hunter Biden. Guys, I kid you not. Let's get into it.
News out of Washington, where a whistleblower has stepped forward to make bombshell claims that the Department of Justice is protecting what is called a, quote, high-profile controversial subject since early 2020, unquote. Now, according to a letter from the whistleblower's lawyer, this individual, who has been described in media reports as a decorated supervisory IRS agent familiar with complex tax fraud matters, has information that could, quote, contradict sworn testimony by a senior political appointee, involve failure to mitigate clear conflicts of interest in the ultimate disposition of a case, and detail examples of preferential treatment and politics improperly infecting decisions and protocols that would normally be followed if the subject were not politically connected, unquote. Big stuff, big allegations. Now, you don't have to be Sherlock Holmes to figure out who the special person of interest in all of this is. Everyone knows it's Hunter Biden, son of U.S. President Joe Biden. But slightly greater mystery surrounds who the senior political appointee covering for him might be. However, speculation is rife that that senior appointee is none other than Joe Biden's Attorney General, Chief Law Officer of the land, Merrick Garland. Now, earlier this year, Garland pledged before Congress that U.S. attorneys investigating Hunter Biden would be given free rein and that there would be no interference from his office. Have a look.
The U.S. Attorney in Delaware has been advised that he has full authority to make those kind of referrals that you're talking about, or to bring cases in other jurisdictions if he feels it's necessary. And I will assure that if he does, he will be able to do that.
Has the Delaware U.S. Attorney sought permission from permission of another U.S. Attorney's office, such as in the District of Columbia or in California, to bring charges? If so, was it denied?
So I don't know the answer to that. I do, and I don't want to get into the internal elements of decision-making by the U.S. Attorney, but he has been advised that he is not to be denied anything that he needs. And if that were to happen, it should ascend through the department's ranks. And I have not heard anything from that office to suggest that they are not able to do everything that the U.S. Attorney wants to do.
Notice how he said he didn't want to get into specifics about what the U.S. attorney said. He didn't want to get into the details. Some people call this getting into the weeds. Why is that? Merrick Garland, this is the same man who holds the fate of Julian Assange in his hands. For those who are not aware, it is Merrick Garland who can just drop the charges right now, and Julian Assange will be free from Belmarsh. Merrick Garland. Now, here's what I want to know. Is Stacey Plaskett the delegate who's asking for Matt Taibbi to go to jail, basically? Is she going to call for Merrick Garland to go to jail? Who is going to investigate the Attorney General of the United States? These are questions we need to ask. Let's go on. There's more.
Well, we're not in Maury Povich lie detector territory yet, but honestly, would you honestly be surprised if that turned out to be a bit of an untruth? John Solomon at the Just the News website has dug deeper. Now, he reports that the disclosures are focused primarily on improper politicization of the case at the Justice Department and FBI headquarters rather than at the IRS or Treasury Department. Specifically, he goes on to say, the agent has provided evidence that at least 2 Biden DOJ, that's the Department of Justice, political appointees in U.S. attorneys' offices have declined to seek a tax indictment against Hunter Biden, despite career investigators' recommendations to do so and the blessing of career prosecutors in the Justice Department tax division, unquote. In other words, Biden's appointees have been protecting Biden's son. This is, if it is proven, the stuff of corrupt third world nations and the last days of Rome. Yet the scary thing is this, again, if it is proven, this sort of corruption has not provoked howls of outrage of the sort that, say, brought down Richard Nixon, or which were whipped up by the false Trump is a Russian agent narrative that was pushed by the left back when he was president. But is any of this surprising? Well, sadly, I've got to say no, because frankly, I think at this point, the Democrats know how much they can get away with, and they are laughing at the normal American people and the rest of the world. They have taken the whole concept of one rule for me and another for thee, which of course was once considered the lowest form of hypocrisy, and they've elevated it to high art.
These are the same people that called for Trump's head. They want Trump to go away. Right? They're saying Trump should be held accountable, which I agree people should be held accountable. But I told you, even with that particular situation, this is just political theater, and this is just a way to prevent Donald Trump from running again. I told you that. But these same people don't want to hold their own members accountable. Merrick Garland. Let's go on a little bit more, and then I have an article I want to show you about this as well. More people need to talk about this.
The new rule of American politics and the American system now seems to be not one nation under God. We won't even think about mentioning him these days, unless it is to say that Jesus would really have loved a good drag queen story time, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. No, now it's one rule for the left and one for everyone else. Literally everything is politicized, and how it is treated, how any event is treated, how it is covered, depends on whether it serves the quote-unquote narrative.
That is true. That's what it all comes down to, serving that narrative. Now, I do want to remind you guys, because I don't think I said it yet, go ahead and smash that like button. That helps me out with the algorithm. Thank you so much. Now, I want to go to this piece here from the New York Post. Now, a couple of outlets have reported this issue. I said a couple. Notice I said a couple. Not that many people are talking about it. So let me go ahead and put this over here. And I told you originally, I actually found this out on Twitter, and then I started to look for it. So the New York Post, of course, you know, a lot of times they're at the forefront. They're kind of like the TMZ of of news in reference to timeliness. It says Attorney General Merrick Garland is the senior official the senior Biden official and Hunter Biden IRS whistleblower claim. So it goes on to say here, I'm going to make this bigger because their font is a doozy. Let me go down and see if they did it right. Oh, this is big enough for everybody to see. Sabby likes. Okay. Oh, maybe a little too big. Oh, sorry, guys. I got to do it this way. Attorney General Merrick Garland is the unnamed official whose sworn testimony to Congress is being challenged in a bombshell letter from an IRS whistleblower's attorney alleging a cover-up in the Hunter Biden criminal investigation. The Post has learned he lied to Congress. That is considered perjury. Look at what they're trying to do with Matt Taibbi over an error, which turns out wasn't actually an error after all. They're calling for his head. They want Matt Taibbi to go to jail for like 5 years in prison. But you don't see those same people calling for Merrick Garland to go to prison. It goes on to say, attorney Mark Lytle wrote Wednesday that the longtime IRS employee wants to provide information to congressional leaders to contradict sworn testimony to Congress by a senior political appointee, Garland, and also to detail preferential treatment in the criminal probe of the first son. The whistleblower already made disclosures to the inspector generals of the Treasury and the Justice Departments. However, due to a quirk of federal law, he needs congressional approval to more fully describe his allegations to his own lawyers, which he wants to do before testifying to lawmakers. Garland has repeatedly claimed under oath that Delaware U.S. Attorney David Weiss, a Trump administration holdover recommended in 2017 by the state's Democratic senators, is able to criminally charge Hunter Biden without the permission of other Justice Department leaders, despite Republicans challenging the factual accuracy of the claim. Garland in April 2022 told Senator Bill Hagerty that there will not be interference of any political or improper kind in the investigation of Hunter Biden led by Weiss. That was a lie. So here you have the Attorney General trying to protect Joe Biden's son. And I don't want you to look at this as a red game versus blue game. I want you to look at it in reference to corruption. So we did a whole show about corruption Friday night. This is corrupt. The Attorney General is not supposed to play favorites here. The Attorney General is not supposed to give preferential treatment to certain people because of who they're related to. These things are not supposed to happen. And the Attorney General, if he has committed perjury, which it looks like he has, then that means that Merrick Garland should be held to the same standard as anyone else who has lied under oath to Congress, regardless of his title. That's what you need to focus on. Don't focus on the red-blue game. Let's go back in here. He is the supervisor of this investigation. Garland said of Weiss, adding that we put the investigation in the hands of a Trump appointee from the previous administration, who is the U.S. attorney for the District of Delaware. And you have me as the Attorney General, who is committed to the independence of the Justice Department from any influence from the White House in criminal matters. Why would we assume, given his position, that he would be independent from it, given the fact that he's the sitting Attorney General? This is Merrick Garland. This is a mess. This is a mess. Thank you, Desert Mantis. Merrick out, Garland Nixon in. I'll tell Garland that. That's funny. Papa said Garland has lied to Congress more than once. There needs to be accountability here in reference to Merrick Garland. There has to be accountability. Now, it goes on to say here I'm going to pull up this part here. The 70-year-old Garland, a former federal judge, replied that Weiss is able to charge Hunter Biden even for crimes that occurred outside of Delaware. The U.S. attorney in Delaware has been advised that he has full authority to make those kinds of referrals that you're talking about, or to bring cases into jurisdictions if he feels it's necessary. Yes, you may have given him the full authority to do that, but if you are lying to Congress, you are still helping protect Hunter Biden, whether he had that full ability to do that or not. Merrick Garland is there to block. Merrick Garland is there is to protect Joe Biden at all costs. It's one thing after another. If it isn't Tara Reade's allegations against Joe Biden, then it's Hunter Biden's issue with the Hunter Biden laptop, his business dealings in Ukraine. People are pulling out all stops to come and protect Joe Biden. And people need to take a stand to this. I don't care if you're a Democrat or not. If you are a Democrat, you should be fighting harder that Merrick Garland is held accountable. You should be fighting harder, because this actually makes the Democratic Party look worse when you try to run cover to protect him. We would say the same thing if it were Donald Trump. Isn't that what people said when Trump was president? The Republican Party was trying to run cover for Donald Trump to protect him. Now we have Democrat president and the same thing is happening. So you have to call out the corruption. You have to call it out. And this piece here, come here. Giving false testimony to Congress can be a crime punishable by up to 5 years in prison if it's proven that the error was intentional. And this is why I said Stacey Plaskett trying to get Matt Taibbi on this. This is the piece that Stacey Plaskett is missing. If the error was intentional, which we also found out later on that actually wasn't an error and that Matt Taibbi was correct. The Justice Department declined to comment. That doesn't make you look good. That doesn't make you look good. The Justice Department declined to comment. If Merrick Garland is in the clear here, why would the Justice Department decline to comment? And it doesn't say that they reached out to the Justice Department and the Justice Department couldn't be reached or there was no response. It says they declined to comment. Who's in the Justice Department? The Attorney General. So everyone at this point in time should be calling on Merrick Garland to be held accountable. It does not matter. It doesn't matter if it's your party or not. If you're going to be fair and if you're actually going to follow the law, that's what you would do. This is what we would do.